What's up guys, Cali Sunset Gaming with you again, and today I'm going to be showing you how to emulate the tactics used by Arsene Wenger in his Invincible season at Arsenal. Make sure that you guys stick around because at the end I'm going to be giving you guys tips on the types of players that you should be purchasing to accommodate for this style. Let's get to it. So, a brief history. In the 2003-04 season, Arsenal completed their Premier League, registering no losses throughout the campaign. They're the only team to ever possess the illustrious Golden Premier League trophy. The back end of Arsene Wenger's career became a bit of a meme, but there's no doubt he was a master tactician. And just a year after claiming that going undefeated through a full season was doable, albeit laughs from journalists when he said it, he actually put his money where his mouth was and did so. The team lined up strictly speaking as a 4-4-2, but given Bergkamp's role in the team and how high Pires and Ljungberg pushed, it could be said that it was an aggressive 4-3-3, but it's not. It's a 4-4-2. On the attack, the team's pace was unreal. Every single player had track race pace. And I'm not talking about human racetrack. I'm talking about greyhound racetrack pace, all right? Oh man, sorry, I've just been watching the highlight reels to analyse how Arsenal played, and watching it just gets me so pumped about football and how incredible they were. I've probably lost my head a little bit. Like I said, one of the main components to this Arsenal side was its pace, and the fact that every single player in the team was a fucking superstar. Try to remember that as we go through the formation and the tactics itself, because I've got to say, trying this formation with the current Arsenal lineup is controller suicide. To save time, you might as well cut out the middleman. Just snap your controller in half and fucking headbutt your TV. From the goalkeeper, unless the counter-attack was on, he would play it short, and as a result, one of the defensive midfielders would slot into that space in front of the defenders and act as a distributor. Both fullbacks played with the instructions to get forward, resulting in a high work rate needed from both to maintain the intensity for 90 minutes. To accommodate for these overlapping runs, both wide midfielders would cut inside. On top of this, Vieira, the box-to-box midfielder, would act as support for each part of the pitch, often being involved in most major transitions. Without the ball, Henry and Bergkamp would press, but the team maintained a solid 4-4-2 shape. One of the defensive mids would tend to sit, whereas the other, Vieira, would tend to shut down the wide passing lanes. From all the footage I saw, the back four and the midfield would tend to maintain their shape, which would mean two banks of four. The formation and style of play was built to suit the player that Wenger had. He demanded excellence from every single player, and you can see that when you watch them play. Each player committing 100% to the role and also the manager's ethos.
Okay guys, so this is the formation. We're going for a standard holding 4-4-2 with some slight adjustments. The most evident being the fact that what we've done is we've changed the left back and the right back to wing backs, allowing them to get forward a lot more and obviously track back further, just to ensure that we've got that added coverage in the defence as well as that additional support when going to attack. In the midfield, we're going to have a standard duo, but the difference with this is that we've got the left midfielder in a slightly more aggressive position and the right midfielder in a slightly more defensive position. This is to emulate Patrick Vieira and Silva, so Silva being the slightly more defensive player of the two, whereas Vieira was the box-to-box player, even though both of them acted as catalysts in terms of initiating play, starting things. Vieira very much was a box-to-box midfielder, so we've emulated that by not only putting him in a slightly more aggressive position, but when I move on to the tactics and the instructions, then it will become more evident as to what his role in the team specifically is. Left mid, right mid, just as a standard, and then Aubameyang and Lacazette taking up that mantle that Thierry Henry and Bergkamp initially started. Okay, so moving on to the tactics. For the defence, we have press after possession loss. Now, some of the Arsenal fans, if you are watching this, then you may think to yourself that in that time frame, what they used to do is just basically drop into a standard two banks of four when it came to defending. But the difficulty is with FIFA, because it's not as in-depth, we can't really emulate specifically how Wenger used to line up defensively. He didn't used to just allow Arsenal to sit back and allow the attack to come onto them. Instead, there was an element of press after the possession loss, Obviously, it was more evident with Thierry Henry and Bergkamp when the ball was lost, and then when it moved on into the midfield area, that's where the pressure was applied by Vieira and Silva to try and sort of divert the opposition out wide. But this, to me, is the most accurate representation. Drop back doesn't emulate the style accurately enough, whereas I feel press after possession loss, obviously manually, as you're controlling the team, you can ensure that the two banks of four stay there, but obviously the computer controlled players will be able to continue that press whilst you can still retain the shape. So for the width, we have this set at 7. This is probably the best way to accommodate for the width. The spacing's good. We've packed out the midfield because obviously, like I said before, you've got the wide players that are cutting inside. So to accommodate for that, drawing the opposition out wide, but on top of that, we've got the wing backs that are covering those flanks. In terms of the depth we have set at 5. This was the closest thing I could find to accommodate for the fact that obviously that Arsenal team did hold a high line, but this is probably the most suitable one to use without leaving yourself too open to attack. When you're coming up against players, when you're playing online against other people, obviously it's going to be incredibly aggressive. This is that perfect middle ground, which I think accommodates for it really well. Moving on to the offense, we've got fast build up. So moving on to offense, we have fast build up. The team was obviously based around their pace and their natural ability as players and their ability to read the game. All of the Arsenal players were just football smart, not just intelligent, but they were able to read the game really well. All of them very in sync in terms of the natural ability and how the game was flowing. So fast build-up to me works best to emulate this kind of style. Quick build-up, players with high rating of pace being able to shift the ball quickly to accommodate for the fact you've got that striker playing as the sort of attacking midfielder, false 9 type role, and then you've obviously got the other attacker that's sort of drifting out wide, giving you all those attacking options. On top of that, you've got the wing backs getting forward and you've got the wide players cutting inside. Just all together accommodates for this style really well. So in terms of width, we're going for 6. This again allows, so for the width we have that at 6. Lots of attacking options, but again not too wide in which you would get caught on a counter attack and not have enough bodies in the wide positions or the central positions to be able to defend. So for plays in the box, corners and free kicks, again this is something that's really just down to how you feel comfortable. A lot of players are going to be flooding into the box with this type of formation just because, like I said, you've got those wide players cutting inside as well as the attackers and that Patrick Vieira type role that we've also accommodated for as well. Flooding into the box, creating that opportunity, a lot of players moving forward, and as a result, if you feel confident, you can obviously stick it to what I have, which is 6. Or if you feel as if you need to be a little bit more conservative just whilst you get used to the formation, you can drop that down. The same with the corners and the free kicks, purely just how you feel comfortable. Now for the instructions, I will go through each player step by step and I will show you the instructions so you can 100% emulate the exact style that Wenger used to use for his Invincible season with Arsenal. With the keeper, we want to have saving on crosses as comes for crosses and saving outside the box as sweeper keeper. The reason for this is we want our keeper to be quite aggressive. We want him to be in quite a forward role to accommodate for the fact that we've got a relatively high line. This is going to be an added bonus for when teams are trying to catch you on the counter attack or they are trying to break that offside trap. Moving on to the centre backs, we've got stay back while attacking. Just standard really. We don't want the team pushing up too high, but at the same time they're just going to be sort of teetering on the halfway line, so you do need to be aware that if a team is trying to catch you on the counter attack, like I said before, you're going to need those pacey centre backs to accommodate for that. Moving on to the wing backs now, we've got attacking runs as join the attack. We've got interceptions as standard, but the run type is the most important thing. What we want to be doing is overlapping the wide players, and I'm going to show you why when we move on to those in just a minute. The more defensive out of the two central midfielders, we've got stay back while attacking, just additional support for those two centre backs. And in terms of defensive positioning, we want them to be covering the centre. So your midfielder that's slightly more aggressive in that box-to-box midfield role, we've got him on attacking support as balance, so he's going to be going forward and going back. The difficulty with this is that we can't obviously just say be a box-to-box midfielder. What you need to do to accommodate for that is go for a player that has got a high defensive work rate and a high attacking work rate. That is the best way to accommodate for it. Because obviously the other sort of settings that you have are get forward, drop between defenders, or stay back while attacking. Unfortunately, there's no middle ground. There's no you be a box to box, I need you there and back constantly. Because that rule isn't in there, you need to stick with balanced attacking, which you'll make forward runs when the opportunity arises. But like I said, the best way to accommodate for it is get somebody with high attacking and defensive work rate. So in terms of the defensive positioning, covering the centre again to accommodate for the additional support with the centre backs, pushing the opposition out wide, very much as what Vieira did. So in terms of the wide players, defensive support, you want them coming back on defence. Something that Wenger drilled into the players from a very early stage was that they needed to give 100% every single game. And as a result, this led to not only the fantastic record, but on top of that, wide players that would be willing to bust a gut to get back, as well as be accommodating on the attack. So they were up and down for the full 90 minutes. And this is what you want to do here. In terms of chance creation, you want them to cut inside. The reason for this is, like I said before, you've got those wing backs that are making the overlapping run. As a result, Wenger created a situation where the wing backs would be making wide runs and the wide players in midfield would actually be cutting inside for additional support on the attack. So this is where the wide players actually differ in terms of their instructions. So on the left side, to accommodate for Perez's fantastic skill with the ball at his feet, we have the support runs to come short. The reason for this is because Perez, even though he was fast, he wasn't really known for his pace, where in terms of when the ball was at his feet, he was absolutely impeccable. So as a result, that's what you want to do. You want to accommodate the strikers in this sense by having the player on the left side come short. Support on crosses, you want them getting into the box for that cross. Like I said previously, the whole ethos with this being the fact that we flood players into that box to try and get a goal. So for the right side, come back on defence, the same as the left. Chance creation, cut inside, same as the left. But the difference is, we've got the support runs as getting behind. If you watch a highlight reel of Arsenal's season when they went invincible, you'll find Ljungberg did make often runs to get in behind. Very much an out-and-out winger, doing his best to get down that byline and try and get across into the box. Great pace and being able to successfully find his teammates 9 times out of 10. Supports on crosses, when balls are coming into the box, again, you want him into the box for those crosses to try and get a goal or pick up any seconds. So moving on to the strikers, this is where we accommodate for Bergkamp, actually being that player that would come from deep, possibly being confused with a centre attacking midfielder. In these support runs, we have him as stay central, but in his attacking runs, we actually have him acting as a false 9. That way, what he can do is assist the midfield in terms of the build-up, and when it comes to going on the attack, he's that additional player running into the box to help the other striker get a goal. As you guys probably know, Bergkamp's ability to get the ball to his feet, lift his head, and then turn on the ball and start a move was incredible. With that in mind, this is going to be a player that not only gets goals for you, but you'll actually find him getting a lot of assists for the additional striker that you've got. Another adage to this is defensive support for the right-sided player. We've actually got comeback on defence. Bergkamp would actually find himself drifting backwards, and the team would actually then drop into some sort of weird 4-3-3 formation where the two midfielders and Bergkamp would drop into a triangle, and then what you would have is the wide players pushing forward, creating a front three with Henry that was in the middle. This is the best way to accommodate for that. When he does come back to defend, he's going to be in a situation where if a counter-attack arises, he's going to be one of those players that can assist in getting the ball forward as quickly as possible. With the left-sided striker, emulating Thierry Henry, his support runs is drifting wide. One of the things that you'll find commonly if you watch the footage back is that you'd find him actually drifting out to the left. That would be his natural position that you would feel most comfortable to be able to cut inside and possibly work towards goal. On other occasions, what he would do is just power straight through the middle if it was a counter-attack that was taking place. The attacking runs, getting behind, we want him on the shoulder of that last man with his pace, breaking forward. So this is why it's important that you get a striker that has high pace so he can beat that last man.
So now I'm going to move on to instructions on how to actually play with the team. Taking into account the way that I've described the instructions and the tactics, I'll explain a little bit more here how to get it to work in your favour. When defending, if you're not controlling one of the attackers, you need to allow the opposition to press. The way that we have the team set up should be able to smother most of the attacks in the midfield due to the volume of players there. Of course, winning the ball in defence means that you can initiate a counter-attack. So this could work in your favour. The more you allow them to press, the more you've got a chance of a counter-attack. Yes, the team wasn't set up to play counter-attacking football per se, but with the pace in the team, it was something that often occurred when they obtained the ball. As mentioned in my other videos, a lot of the teams that you come up against in FIFA 20 are going to be playing with a 4-3-3 formation. So this will also help you as you have a lot of support in your wide angles from the wing backs, but also the left mid and the right mid. On the attack, your play is going to be built around short, concise passes at a high rate. Basically, pass short and fast. It will work. Your attacking options will consist of the wide players. Your left striker is going to drift out wide and your right striker is going to come from deep. Overall, with the wide players cutting inside, as a rough average, you're going to be flooding the box with at least 4 players. You're going to have lots of passing options, so the usual process will be for you to try and go through the middle, but always aware that wide players will be pressing forward and will be there to support. From a goal kick, you'll always have one of your strikers high and left on the pitch, so if you can time your kick to perfection, it should allow you to initiate a counter-attack and a run-in on goal. With the volume of players that you have flooding the box, there will always be a chance that you can take a shot off a rebound from the keeper, so always be aware that if your shot is blocked, there is a very high chance that one of your players is capable of smashing in the follow-up. Like I've mentioned before about 3 or 4 times in this video already, pace is key. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to give you guys a couple of tips on if you are using this for your career mode to be able to look into the transfer market and the exact type of players that you're going to need to fit this type of system. To start off with defenders, you want your centre backs to be pacey and have high acceleration to accommodate for the relatively high line that the team has. You could possibly get away with mixing this, so you just have one solid defender and then another one that's pure pace. That should work out in your favour. But if you're using the training mini pages to boost players, then sprint speed and acceleration is what you need to hit hard for the centre backs. Ideally, you want your wing backs to have high work rates for both attacking and defending, ensuring that they will be able to provide that support that's needed even in the latter stages of the game. In the midfield, you need your CM on the left side to be a box-to-box player, so essentially you want them to have high attacking work rates and high defensive work rates. A high passing stat is going to be able to help you pick out those runs that are coming from the forward players or the wide players. For your other centre midfielder, work rates aren't as important, but a player with good passing stats and good tackling stats will help, as he's going to be the first line of defence, and also he's going to be one of the catalysts for counter-attacks when there's a build-up in play. For your wide players, crossing and agility needs to be high. You're going to need to be mixing up the crosses into the box, quick passing, and obviously the cutting inside aspect as well. So you want to be looking at players that fit this mould but are also within your budget. As I said before guys, this video is so that you can implement the tactics and instructions on any team, not just specifically the one that I'm showing you in this video. For your strikers, high pace and decent tactical awareness are the stats that you want to be looking for as the priorities. So this accommodates for the counter-attacking football that you're going to be playing every so often, and on top of that, a high tactical awareness means that your attackers are going to be in the right position at the right time and also help with that follow-up shot that may result in a goal from the keeper spilling it. I know a lot of you guys have been requesting other managers in the comment sections and on my social media, but I thought what better way to bring the Arsenal fans back on side than to assess Wenger's Invincible season. So now I've done that, you can all appreciate that I do actually think Arsenal are a good side. What I said before was just a joke. I respect Arsenal as much as a Chelsea fan could. Way, we're all friends again. Now stop disliking my shit.